I want to preface this video by stating clearly that my purpose here is not to deride the achievements and excellence of top-level women's sport. The dedication that women must have to compete at the highest level is certainly comparable to that of a man, and deserves recognition as such. What can never be equal, though, is the level of performance. In professional sports, a woman will never cross the 100-meter sprint line ahead of a man. She will never hit harder, throw further, jump higher, or aim more precisely than a man. And it is on this basis that I shall argue. I've long thought the sport of tennis was one of the best exemplars of the absurdity of leftism, feminism, and the utter myth that is the gender pay gap. Feminism infects all areas of our lives, including sport. And today's particularly virulent strain of feminism is not, and never has been, about sexual equality. It is simply a means of continually undermining the position of men. It is about silencing the truth of the natural world that men and women are, in many respects, simply different. Since 2007, women tennis players have been paid the same as men in the sport's premier competitions, or Grand Slams. However, whereas women play the best of 3 sets, men play the best of 5. So, feminists and the proponents of so-called equality have already tilted the scales in their favour, not towards equality. And those governing the sport have pandered to this PC agenda by silently allowing this inequity. Why? Because they have calculated that the storm of leftist outrage would be more trouble than it's worth to defend the principle of fairness. But there are also other factors in play that no one is supposed to notice, and which prevent the sports authorities from making women do the same amount of work for the same amount of money. First, women's tennis is simply not as popular as men's. Women's finals attract around half as many viewers as men's finals, which means the airtime is simply not as valuable to sponsors. No one is forcing people to watch or not to watch. This is the market speaking, and it never lies. Frankly, no one wants more female tennis than they currently have. And sorry ladies, but this applies to all sports, not just tennis. Secondly, men put in much greater efforts when competing, both in terms of time on court and in sets played. It is highly doubtful whether women would be able to perform at the required level for this length of time, but even if they could, there is obviously no push by women players to move to 5 sets. Why not? There is obviously some reason for this. Equal work for equal pay goes the feminist mantra. Well, tennis shows us that this is not what they actually want. What they want is the same pay for significantly less work. So in essence, the sports authorities are saying to women players, please accept this extra money that you haven't earned, and in return, please stop making a fuss. You don't want to do the extra work, and no one really wants to see you on court for longer anyway. But this glaring inequity still leaves the sport and its women players open to justified criticism. So how best to defuse this criticism? As always, the left has a contrived and ultimately unconvincing answer. Billie Jean King, a respected former player, came out recently proposing that men should no longer play 5 sets in Grand Slam events. In this article it says, and I quote, "The 74-year-old suggested women were willing to play 5 sets too, but people wanted quality over quantity. You do not get paid in the entertainment business by how long you play for," said King, unquote. Apart from this being completely wrong, who wouldn't complain if a band disappeared off stage after playing only 2 songs? She is changing the issue from women not playing enough to suggesting men are playing too much. According to King then, the problem with tennis isn't that women cannot or will not play longer matches, or that no one wants to watch 5 sets of women's tennis. No. As usual, it's the men that need to be brought into line. Male players are more popular, stronger, and are able to play better for longer. And we really can't have that, can we? Knowing that she cannot rationally defend women being paid more than men for the work they put in, she is seeking to entirely change the debate. After all, we can't expect women to play more if we make playing more against the rules. What she will never address, though, is that almost twice as many people would rather watch men play 5 sets as watch women play 3.
Sometimes in the sport of tennis, the phrase epic contest is overused. Not this time.
I'm not a huge tennis fan, but I have watched many matches over the years where 2 men have gone head-to-head over 5 sets, and I can tell you right now that the atmosphere at these matches is electric. Every point concluding to rapturous applause from the crowd. This woman, King, is betraying the paying public and the sport itself by trying to eradicate this extraordinary spectacle in pursuit of her dishonest feminist agenda.
5 hours and 53 minutes.
Her remarks are, I'm afraid, just another blatant attempt to drag society down in the name of political correctness, to compromise the vision of excellence that sport at the highest level requires. Our confused and feminized society simply cannot bring itself to openly acknowledge that men and women are different. Viewing figures don't lie.
On a Monday morning
Women want equal pay, but, as is so often the case in the real world, men are more able and better prepared to work harder than are women. The solution to this inconvenient truth? Only allow men to work as hard as women are prepared or able to. And isn't this just the essence, the absolute essence of all leftism? That society should not celebrate those who reach new heights of human achievement. If everyone cannot share equally in the spotlight, then destroy the spotlight. A greyer, less authentic human experience is what the left wants for us all. The transgender issue is another remarkable and depressing illustration of how confused our society has become. The left will eat itself, I have said many times. Forcing oil and water together is its stock in trade. Just as it gave us Islam for gays and vice versa, now it is trying to sell us transgender men beating up women in the name of gender equality. Can you not see that the ultimate goal of this is to undermine the idea of reason itself?
Heather, you are an evolutionary biologist. What can we take from what Helen said to help us make sense of James's memo?
James argues, accurately, that there are differences between men and women. This is a strange position to be in, to be arguing for something that is so universally and widely accepted within biology. What is not as widely accepted is that culture is also evolutionary, but I'm going to argue that biology and culture are both evolutionary. Let's look at differences between men and women that are explicitly anatomical and physiological. Are men taller than women on average? Does anyone take offense at that fact? Are you irritated?
There's always a standout.
So I would say, you could be irritated by it. You could be irritated by the fact that women have to be the ones to gestate and lactate. You could be irritated by a lot of truths. But taking offense is a response that is rejection of reality. So men and women are different on height. They're different on muscle mass. They're different on where fat is deposited on our bodies, right? Our brains are also different. So there are some binaries.
Oh, wow. Security! This is what happens. Oh, did they shut off the volume? Can you hear? Can everybody hear?
Really? He's a piece of shit. That is not okay. Even the women in there have been brainwashed.
Should not listen to fascism. It should not be tolerated in civil society. Nazis are not welcome in civil society.
Fuck the police! Govern the people! Thank you.
Let me be crystal clear. People do not have the right to tell you what you can and cannot listen to. People do not have the right, fringe elements of society do not have the right to hold you hostage to discourse. This is a university. If we cannot have this conversation here, we can't have it anywhere.
How much of our sanity and honesty do we have to sacrifice before people will understand? What will it take to make people realize that this obsession with making the unequal equal will ruin everything for everyone? The differences between the sexes are one of the most wonderful things about being a human. There is nothing sadder than to see a woman sacrifice her femininity and a man sacrifice his masculinity. Men and women were created to be complementary to each other, not rivals as the left would have it. Every day we see a new assault on reality coming from the left, and we need to become ever more vigorous in our resolve to counter the political correctness that seeks to overturn every natural law we live by. Until next time, be well.